Ah ouais.
Pouvez-vous savoir comment on a été choyés d'arriver au moment où vous parliez de la relation école-famille, Étienne? Gros coup de cœur.
Ah oui.
Bien, c'est parce que nous, on a dit souvent que durant la pandémie, les parents devenaient les yeux des enseignants. Mais effectivement, ça ouvrait une porte. Mais si on veut s'en servir efficacement, il faut se dire comment on utilise notre relation pour qu'elle soit au service des élèves. Puis pas que ça devienne des moyens humainement de se. Bien, tantôt, on a parlé de teacher bashing et boy. Tu sais, ça, c'est le dark side humain qu'on ne veut pas avoir. Fait que bravo d'en avoir parlé.
Oui, on a mis des gants blancs pour en parler, mais on trouvait ça important.
Yes, non, mais c'est nécessaire. Fait que, puis on arrive juste après vous autres. Fait que je ne sais pas s'il y en a qui vont faire les deux puis qui vont se nourrir de ça pour continuer, mais c'est très, très, très wow.
Super.
Good job à vous autres!
Merci. On va assister à votre atelier et on va vous lancer les fleurs après.
Oh, oh non! Ça va me stresser. Mais ça marche. Reste, Étienne, ça va me faire vraiment plaisir. Moi, j'ai noté sur votre site, d'ailleurs, j'adore la citation sur la page d'accueil. T'en souviens-tu?
Non, je m'en souviens plus.
Il y a ceux qui voient les choses telles qu'elles sont et se demandent pourquoi. Moi, je les vois telles qu'elles pourraient être et je me dis, pourquoi pas?
C'est vraiment notre philosophie. On est en train de développer des nouvelles choses aussi sur Moodle qui vont être quand même intéressantes.
C'est hot, félicitations.
Ouais. Merci beaucoup. Donc,
Hey, salut!
Salut, bye bye.
Moi, je vais faire mon test de partage d'écran tout de suite.
Ça fonctionne.
All right, je vais essayer de grandir ça, d'avoir accès encore au clavardage. Judith, tu as le document proche de toi sur les liens qu'on pourra partager. Bonjour à ceux qui sont en train de se joindre. Nous sommes en installation présentement. Nous commençons dans 1 minute. On va donner la chance aux gens de se connecter. Puis bonjour Simon. Puis aussi de prendre une pause parce qu'on sait que le dernier atelier vient juste de terminer. Donc, on espère que vous allez pouvoir vous dégourdir. Puis revenir avec un petit breuvage chaud, un petit verre d'eau. Judith, j'adore ton fond.
Bien, c'est ça, je suis allée le chercher dans le courriel. Je ne savais pas si c'était celui-là, mais j'imagine que oui.
C'est le parfait fond. Moi, je n'ai pas pris le temps de le faire. Mais je me sens accompagnée par la présentation lors de la journée du numérique.
Et voilà.
À tous ceux qui viennent d'arriver, ben, je vois 4 personnes en ce moment. Vous
Those who've just joined us, you can tell us where you come from, who you are, or if you've gone to get a hot drink, you can do so. I'm Jean-Pierre, excellent. Jeremy, we know each other. Nice to see you. Yatino, nice. I have colleagues from the Wired School, l'École Branchée, who are coming. Maybe 1 more minute just to give people the time to click the link. Bianca from the Academy, we know each other. She's saying Aqua Beach.
Formation métier semi-spécialisé. Moi aussi, j'ai enseigné ça.
Specialized trades training. I also taught that in prisons, federal prisons. Amelie, I don't know if you're as strange as I am. We possibly know each other because I'm also from Amqui Beach. I think we'll start our presentation with Matan Beach. Matan Beach. They have the view on the beach on the shores of the river. We'll start by answering the question, what led us here to the Digital Education Day? It's that we observed needs to increase communication and collaboration between school staff, students, and parents by taking advantage of the potential of digital technology, and especially implementing Measure 25 of the Education Action Plan. Since it's been more than 3 years that Judith and myself, as members of the École Branchée Wired team, Wired School team. We've been working on a common vision of what co-education could be, kind of linking it to the concepts of collaboration and communication, co-education between school and the family. Over the last few years, with the support of the Ministry of Education, we created a significant amount of material, magazines, editorials, videos. And before starting out, I would like to present the place where you'll be able to have access to all this material. Just let me to click around a bit. I did a little presentation on écolebranchée.com/famille. Judith, maybe you will paste the links in the chat so people can have access directly. So you'll see first thing you'll see is the last magazine that's been published, Family Survival Guide in Pandemic Times, available in French and in English because we created in collaboration with the Parent Federation committees, expert editorials, videos, and a link to the Facebook group. There are also regular activities, conferences on education for you, for parents. And finally, we can present ourselves, Judith and myself, but you'll see more precisely the editorials that were integrated in different issues of the École Branchée Wired School magazine, all available on the website. Then the video question, a whole series of videos created for you to allow you to understand how parent-teacher encounters can be lived in a co-education, with a co-education mentality. And you can have examples, testimonies, ways to develop co-education. That's what we created for you over the last 3 years. Who are we? It's time to do our little presentation. And don't hesitate to answer in the chat where you're from. More precisely, I'm Stephanie Dion. I'm mother of 3 children. One is in secondary school, the 2 others are in elementary school. I'm also a development director for the Wired School. What is Wired School is media to inform actors in the field of education and to help them develop their expertise in the digital era. So in the context I presented earlier, we accepted to facilitate the family school relationship, considering that there's so much expertise that is available and that we can offer an efficient transfer of this knowledge. If we put this knowledge, present this knowledge to the youth to ensure that it is authentic and that it brings together their home and school life. So my colleagues know that I am very invested in co-education. I consider myself a facilitator in the digital era, and we sincerely believe in the leadership of all actors in the field of education and in the capacity of collaborating and accompanying children throughout this era of co-education. And I believe that we can find ways to facilitate this relationship because people are counting on us, and that's how we'll find ways to work together. Judith, do you want to present yourself? My name is Judith Kajela. I'm a teacher by training. I've been working in education for around 15 years. I'm still working in education, no longer in the classroom. I launched my business, Educo Pro, 5 years ago. It's a business for consulting with a lot of contact with parents. And we also have a leadership and training aspect. We're helping Code Montréal project with the CSSTM, and we visit many CSSs to explain robotics and digital integration. We also work in the community sector to facilitate, once again, integration of digital technology in a little more playful context. So the École Branchée for Family project, when we started talking about it 3 years ago, Stephanie and I also have children who are adults now. It was more as a teacher and as an experienced teacher. Earlier, someone said they were teachers for the semi-specialized trades program. I've taught mostly in the primary school in more less privileged environments like Montréal Nord and Rivière des Prairies. Environments where the contact with families required particular attention. And I've also worked in semi-specialized trades program in prisons. Obviously, there is no contact with the family there, but it really affects us when we see adults who perhaps lack this coeducation link. So for me, it's very important relationships surrounding the concern with the well-being of the children. And that's why I found it wonderful to join Stephanie, who most of you know very well. So we're here to give you more information to go beyond collaboration and move towards co-education. Definitely, our intention today is to allow you to position this meaning that what coeducation means for you and how to become coeducation pros. So first we'll help you prepare. How do I create a coeducation relationship? We'll help you think about it by thinking particularly about your role or the respective roles of school and family. How to how to communicate, what are the tools that can help us, how to organize ourselves, offer the requisite accompaniment to foster this coeducation relationship. Now, to give you some tools in the context of this presentation, we created a link which is bit.ly/GNE coeducate, which will allow you to copy and to open a presentation and have access to all the links we've integrated into this presentation. To start out, we want to ask you to go to Ookla with your phone, ookla.com/role plurals schools family. The first question is, what is your role in the education field? You probably have more fields than one, and it's possible to select more than one on this Hoopla app. And just tell us what your current role is. Do you see particular things you want to read out from the chat or comment on from the chat? The Ookla has just been linked in the chat. We'll add everyone. We'll clap for everyone, not just ourselves. And I'll also add the other link for the presentation. It's great because the WooClap allows me to see that certain people have already started answering, going through the questions we'll be asking in advance. And while you're answering, we'd like to hear your input on what co-education means for you. WooClap asks you, what are the 3 words that are most associated with co-education for you? We don't have a QR code for WooClap, do we? No, I didn't do that. Sorry. Next time you can use the chat as someone has done already. So mostly we have teachers, but there are also parents joining us, other professionals, pedagogical counselor, auto pedagogists, people in the health sector, school principals, managers, other people in the field of education. We're very happy to receive you today. 3 words to describe coeducation. What does it look like? Collaboration. I think Judith will kind of give her the impulse to clarify what is the difference between coeducation and collaboration. Collaboration is necessary. It's a very good word choice. Seems to be one of the most frequent. Of course, collaboration is important. When I talk about the nuances with collaboration and coeducation, is that we meet it more at the level of each person's role and responsibility. Collaborating is sometimes takes the form of expectations. It's important that I collaborate with the parent. Oh, I must collaborate. So we give ourselves expectations and we don't necessarily have our role. We don't ask the question, what can I contribute? And I think contribution is another important aspect of coeducation. We'll see this over the next few minutes. You've seen the words, school-family relationship, communication. We certainly need communication, participation, family, mutual aid, partnership, success, follow-up, listening, coherence, which we really like, synergy and cohesion. These are words which really resonate with what we have in mind when we talk about coeducation. Thank you for your participation. Coherence, we hear a lot, but cohesion, we hear more rarely. Why do we need, what brings about coherence is cohesion, so one doesn't go without the other for me. Maybe you've heard already. Maybe you've understood from what we've been saying. Coeducation is first and foremost a relationship, and this relationship has a very precise goal, which is the well-being and success of youth and children. We have a picture which really illustrates this coeducation concept. It comes from Joanne Gagnon, who is Pierre Gagnon, who is a pedagogical counselor in Montreal. It shows a child riding a tricycle, and the role of parents and teachers is to be wheels, allowing them to move forward in a balanced way so as not to become a little grocery cart wheel that's going awry. Needs to be stability on both sides so that children can continue along the path of learning. There's an element in this tricycle that speaks to us particularly well. What it means for us, what brings us together, and what illustrates the communication channel that is necessary to advance together coherently and cohesively. Stephanie, I will mention that people are managing to connect to the document. I don't know if you can give us a solution. When I click on the link, I have it elsewhere. But when I click on this link, I can't share the document. It's very cute, isn't it? Does it say you can create a copy? Yes, indeed. So when you create a copy, all right, create a copy, you'll see it pop up. All right, it should work now. Indeed, all my links will allow you to create a copy and to save it on your end. Now, when we started talking about when we started studying coeducation, we looked at a study that was done many years ago in Belgium, and that brought out 4 essential elements of coeducation. And we found this particularly important because it'll shed light on how we'll orient our communications around young people and their essential needs are listening to the needs of children, respecting the evolution of the development of each child, So everyone who has a role to play, respect of parents, of teachers, of children, confidence that time is an important factor, allowing us to see the progression and development, and consideration of the child as a whole being, which reminds us of the duty we have as adults to validate how the child perceives themselves, how they live their well-being, their learning, how they evolve alongside us adults who are responsible for their success and well-being. These are the four essential elements at the heart of our exchanges and our thoughts. Every time we'll have these school-family communications. And we're starting out asking, how do we prepare that? How do we prepare these actions which will allow us to develop a co-education relationship? First, paying attention to the role we should play. And while the video plays, I'll encourage you to stay in the Woo clap and to name actions which could contribute to these goals. Stephanie, they say they can't create a copy. I can do so on my end, but they can't seem to do so themselves. Sorry for the ad that wasn't intended. Okay, give me a second. There's probably something happening with the copy, but all the presentations will be on the program page. So you'll be able to find the links, and I'll make sure personally today. We have Julie telling us the document is available on the Digital Day website in PDF format. So maybe if you want to remain with us on the screen, we'll share everything and you'll have access to everything afterwards. Sorry about the ad. I will go back to what Judith will explain in connection with roles. All right, seems to have changed. I think I'll try to start on the right side.
À ses besoins.
Bon. La relation enseignant-parent.
The parent-teacher relationship in a coeducation context is an alliance which allows bringing together of all the other actors involved in the education of a child, teachers, parents, other guardians, professionals in the education sector, and children themselves. It's an alliance which should last over time and help us have a collective memory. What we need to get there is to recognize the importance of each person's role and to allow each person's contribution, because every child has a right to feel supported and protected in their learning process by all adults around them. Each person's role, although we may have similar roles, we have specific objectives that are very different according to our respective contexts. As teachers, we have a time-limited mandate to teach, socialize, qualify, to transmit knowledge, develop skills, help learning of aspects of social life. But as parents, we will always have the role of helping our children overcome challenges, transitions, and different stages of life, because we will always be the first agents in the education of our own children. We contribute to their education, to their understanding of life, and to their skills acquisition. So when we communicate, when we understand these roles, it allows us to share and to understand how to attain the well-being of children. The child is therefore able to construct their knowledge and develop their life skills thanks to different adults around them, and the adults can work in continuity, offering different activities in each setting to continue this co-responsibility work. Also, with coeducation, adults have a role to play, which are the same, which are giving mutual reassurance, validating information together, sharing goings on in the classroom, or changes experienced by the child and their family, sharing with parents the notions that will be learned throughout the year, or sharing with the teacher information obtained from a specialist, strategies practiced at home, which could be used in the classroom. So when we work in continuity, we can work complementarily to have a better idea of the child's needs and better answer them. Co-education stimulates participation by the fact of better understanding our roles, of creating a benevolent clients, which allows for acceptation, self-acceptance, for mutual acceptance. It reassures us and makes us want to work as a team. Coeducation also creates more positive experiences to which we can refer ourselves. And all this allows development of one's feeling of personal efficiency and allows for fostering our belief in our capacity for success, which increases motivation. And now I want to hear your comments on what you've mentioned in the WUCLAP on actions to develop the coeducation relationship. In the chat, you can continue also if you have other things you want to highlight, but listening, open-mindedness, considering parents' point of view. Judith often talks about this. Allow ourselves to recognize and accept one another's initiatives, good communication, open-mindedness, considering parents as an actor as important, who is as important as the teacher, flexibility, ensuring that parents understand each school's actions, and support. Of course, we need to take the time to talk to each other about these things, always putting the emphasis on the well-being and success of children rather than on choices. But if we always mention the positive impact on well-being, Stephanie, there are two in particular that draw my attention. Someone wrote, "What can I do? Put in effort." I find this very good because there needs to be this interest for saying, "I'll try something." There can't be a perfect formula. The other person says, "Do whatever I can." I don't know, you've known many teachers. Sometimes they carry heavy burdens. Sometimes teachers think they have a superhero cape and it starts to weigh on their shoulders. But co-education shouldn't be heavy. It should be infused in your planning and how you do it by putting in effort, by doing your best. Doing your best means it won't always work. It won't always draw the accolades we would want. But what is important is to do something, to make the first step. So I really like these answers in particular because we need to start somewhere. Otherwise, we have some other good comments if you want to continue. Yeah, and it makes me think that we can't assume that everyone has the answers to every situation in every context right away. We say it regularly, these challenges in the digital era, these technical and technological challenges are first and foremost human and relational. So getting to know each other, knowing what to exchange as information, giving each other time for efficient action, it can allow us to reflect so that these actions, which you can infuse in your planning, will allow you to develop these ties without it being an excessive workload. For it to be integrated, simple, human, and especially essential to work cohesively together. Have we finished? Not at all. I said in the video, we have common needs, parents and teachers, especially this common need of information, of reassurance that our interventions are efficient and have a positive impact on the students' well-being and success. That's why we need to be well informed to make sure that what we're observing on one end and the other allows a child to feel better and to progress. Allows many things, doesn't it? It allows more efficiency. And I would like you to explain what allows you to feel well informed or reassured in your exchanges and communications with parents. What do you think reassures or ensures a parent's well-informedness? You can put yourself in whatever position you want. Sometimes you can put yourself in your partner's position because we're partners in this process, parents and teachers. So what would reassure our partners in this process? And what there are other things, choice of information, which can be even more reassuring. And when we're reassured, the link of confidence is even more solidified. Creating ties of confidence is, of course, very important. So it allows you to be well informed, to be reassured. You've named many things: positive communication, efficient practices, platforms, feedback, definitive feedback for the children, having the pulse on the child's activities at home. It's not rare for there to be very different behavior. A child who's doing very well at school and then lets out an emotional excess at home, who isn't really inclined to learn at home, to do homework, etc. So if we talk about it because it's normal to exchange this information, we can act positively on these students. I really like validation exchanges, discussions. I think it's important because information, it's always a good idea to go look for information, but exchanges, discussions allow us to go even deeper. And validation, we'll talk about it more, but it takes weight off parents' shoulders and off teachers' shoulders when we can validate what's being done, what we intend on doing. Validation is very important. And Stephanie and I participated in a very interesting conference recently from European coeducation specialists. One of the things that was mentioned is that sometimes we put ourselves in a position we put ourselves in a teacher position. When I'm in a teacher position, I impose on myself the responsibility to always know what I should transmit. It's always myself. It's always my responsibility. But when I validate, it allows me to understand the parents, that I'm not in my student's position, but with the parent I'm in a relationship.
So when I talk to the parent, I don't need to remain in my teacher position just to send out the information. I can also get a feedback and have a relationship with the parent. Yes, in the open-mindedness and in the listening process, definitely. But in terms of information, we do have the right to get that information and we have the right to retrieve it, because this information is about two things: well-being and the school journey. And also you need to have the guts to go out and ask for the information. It has to do with interpersonal relationships and also the needs and tools of the students on their educational journey. So we can ask or request for information for parents. We can ask what has been implemented to help my child get organized, and how can I help my child feel organized in his work plan. For example, Laurie Couture has presented a very good organizational plan to help the students progress at their own pace. Definitely, this information we do have the right to have this information. Judith, yes, I see you opened up your microphone. So basically, the information to be communicated, to me, what it means is it really has to do with, for example, an intervention plan. When we create one, we go about collecting data, and it's information that has to do with the school performance, of course, but we also look at the well-being of the child. We don't want it to be anxious or stressed out. We want the child or the student to be able, in an emotional way, to learn. And when we go about getting this information, we should do it for all students. Will we do it at the same frequency for each student? Of course not. It depends on the student, but that is something that we should do. And I think it's really fun to know that our intervention plans have been designed in that perspective, to have a co-educational process with the parents. Yes, and there are some fears that have been named by the teachers when we speak of co-education, and also when we speak of having an informational channel. And I say it's a bi-directional channel because the information comes from both sides. And it also refers to the blue icon here. It's a link that it has been published by one of our colleagues, Martine Martineau. These are testimonies of experiences with co-education. So I wanted to paraphrase the quote here that has been written. Stephanie, you said acetate again, and you talked about a slide. Okay, so basically what is quoted here is that the teachers were fearful to be overloaded by the information that parents would be communicating to them. But in reality, it was the opposite. They realized that the parents became allies, and also this ally relationship has made it so that when troubles came up or issues came up, they were able to get together and find solutions together. So there was an exchange there, brainstorming that they would do together with the parents. So it was less conflictual and they were more focused on solutions. So this article will be made available in the presentation. So it's really good to see what has been experienced in this area. So now, if we want to be in that position or in that role, we need to know how to reach out to parents and how to communicate with them. So I would like for you to name to us what you think can create a winning situation for co-education. So, oh, I see. Yes, the mastering of English or other languages. Yes, of course, if we want to communicate, we must find a way to communicate in the same language. And by the way, we say hi to the English speakers. I saw comments in English, and thank you for using the chat box. Respect, a lot of respect, transparency, respect of different roles, open-mindedness. Okay, I just want to go back to the English language. Of course, there is not only English here in Montreal, sometimes it could be Spanish and so on, and we cannot know or master every language, but we do have access to many, many resources and some CSSs. There are translations available and also digital tools. It used to be a barrier for parents, but now with online education, we have the possibility to have an application that is available in many different languages. Of course, Google Translate is not always perfect, but it could give you that little boost and help you understand the other language. So yes, we do need to try to understand the clientele to which we are speaking. I remember we used to have a lot of pictograms as well for more general um, dissemination of information, and they could go in those pictograms and organizational charts to see what tools and materials were made available to them. And I also like here, people have mentioned a lot the respect of different roles. So that is one of the main subjects here is to accept that the teacher or the teaching personnel have a role, and we also must accept each and everyone's limits, the possibilities of what they can give to us, and work from there. So yes, the respect of different roles is very important. Transparency. Throughout all conferences we've had with parents, that's really what they wish. And even at the end, I was tired of parents. Sometimes they were saying, you remember, Stephanie, parents would say, I'm afraid to be disturbing. Okay, so she just froze.
De restructurer le tout pour s'assurer que ça déborde pas.
Okay, so to restructure everything to make sure that we don't go out of line, of course. Okay, now we're back from that freeze. We kind of froze here. I'm sorry. So in the first chronicles that we have published, we shared 3 main winning conditions that referred to many of the things you've mentioned just now. But first off, it's very important to develop a safe environment. So in that environment, we need ingredients that make it so that we can establish a psychologically secure climate where we feel we can say things as they are, even if we've done it in a way that it might be a little bit unexperienced. We need to feel that we can express ourselves and that the climate is safe. And also we need a climate where we feel that people will accept the information that we need to transfer and transmit. So it has to become more and more coherent for the children when they're at school, all the way back to their household. So first, so to create a safe environment. Secondly, we need to make sure that in all exchanges, we cultivate the 1% that we have in common and try to act on the well-being and the success of the child. And lastly, of course, we need to learn to communicate and learn to listen. So to make sure that we have a question at some point to see what feedback we get from the people that are listening to us. Now, these tools in here can help us. So we have defined 2 main categories of tools. Tools that can help us with communicating and tools that can help us learn more about the educational journey of the students. So you could see here we have in person, we have by phone, and we will move on a little bit quickly because we will name them here again. So now you will see tools that are not necessarily accessible in certain educational services. So Veronique, I'll look up for other possibilities for you, but what I want to present to you and the way you organize yourself and you implement coeducation more efficiently, it could be a communication channel. So I name it a structured bidirectional communication channel, but it can also be a Google document or a form. And I have a colleague here that says that during the pandemic, she took the time to set up a Google form. You can create a copy for yourself here. And this Google form enabled her to validate the learning experience, the online learning experience with the parents of her students. Was the curriculum clear? Was the workload efficient? And was it appropriate? Do you feel the children were motivated? What do you feel worked well? And in the light of your children's comments, what do you feel could improve the educational experience of your child? This Google document can be modified, can be sent out at a regular frequency, or it could be at different moments and timings, and you can adapt it to your life, and it can easily give you a communication tool that is easy to develop and that will come very useful at certain points in the year. So if you regularly communicate with the parents, they necessarily will feel free to communicate things with you in a timely manner. Go along those same lines. Of course, there are a few tools that some CSS do not authorize, no longer authorize, and I think it's because the hub is not in Canada, so I'm not sure, but I think that's what I've heard. I could name other tools, but I'm not sure if they were accepted. We have Edmodo that really resembles Facebook. It's a class version. Remind Me, which is simply an app that enables you to send text messages. Maybe that one is still available, but I think the best way is to go with simple tools. It could be Teams, Google Documents, and tools that you can use. And some pedagogical advisors can help you discover other ways you can use these tools. And of course, the protection of the French language was part of this as well. So anyways, all of this to tell you that you do not have to limit yourself to using this very intricate, complicated application. You can use simple tools like a Google form, Google Docs, and it really, truly is helpful. And I think we really need to answer the question, first of all, what is your communication needs? And we've had some testimonies from teachers that have used those tools, and we know that it does work. And as you said, Stephanie, you can adapt the frequency with which you communicate. But let's go ahead with it, because anyhow, that's what parents want. They want something simple. I'm thinking about Stephanie with 3 children that all have different teachers. It's a lot of work to try to figure out how each application works. Indeed, there are many communication channels, but you should really firstly focus on what is your communication purpose, and then you can use the tools that function or work with your context. Now we have our teacher, Mira Oberna. She's an elementary school teacher. She has created a form which helps you to assess the happiness index of your children. So sometimes we can think that everything is going well, but sometimes there is stress under that beautiful smile. So let's go ahead and validate. Let's take the initiative to validate. It's our role as adults to make sure that the children feel good and feel safe. So all of these elements here are very important. Do they like going to school? Do they feel that they're good at learning? Do they feel that their teacher listens to them or understands them? Tell me a little bit more about you. What should I know to help me better accompany you? So these are all simple tools that you can make available to your parents, to your students, and that may have a great impact on the collection of data necessary for efficient actions that need to be put into place. So we also speak of how to develop a common vocabulary with the parents, and what better than using the own words of the children and their reality as a student at school by using different means and tools. So that will enable you to put the child at the center of the documentation of these tools and the use of these tools, and it will enable seamless gravitation between the school life and home life. So this also helps for orientation. It helps the child to situate himself. It can be done at the beginning of the year or during the school year to enable the child to name their strengths, their qualities, their interests. And I always say, if we want to learn to better communicate in a positive way, let's find points of interest on which we can talk positively. So let's talk about their strengths. And I say that is to pour water over the flowers and not the weeds. And this is very helpful at many different angles. You can talk about challenges. What do you want to learn this year? We can talk about goals. What is important for you this year? What do you want to achieve this year? So necessarily, this will focus our adult interventions with the parents, and we can focus them around what is really happening to the youth in the school environment, and also to create and to help them achieve the goals that are important to them. So this document can be used. I put in a few notes of how to use this document and some recommendations for you. So I invite you to use these main themes and to vary them. And it could be done in different methods of communications. It could be video segments, audio segments. Think about children that have learning difficulties. Maybe some other children are shy and they don't want to speak in front of everyone. You can have audio tools for them, or audio segments, and use tools that make it realistic for each child. Well, I would say more optimal for each child to be able to use these tools in real life. The last thing I wanted to show you is a learning assessment. It's used by Julie Chandonnet. She's a elementary school teacher. She does this every Friday at the end of the day. She asks her student to write an assessment or a review of their week. So what are they proud of? What are their concerns? What are their goals for the next weeks? And there is also a last section, it's the coaching section, where she writes her comments and she can put in positive comments for the child to be able to move forward. And also there is a section for the parents. So how can you better focus the parent collaboration if they can exactly see the progression of their child? Also, this way you can get their feedback so you can continue to make them grow and progress. It enables the parents to be very positive in their involvement with their child's schooling journey. So with all of these documents, you can go and copy them, adapt them, and use them in your own reality, and use them in moments that make sense to you. So for those who do not have a Gmail account, we will eventually create other formats that can be edited so we make sure that everyone is included. Also, for the others that had different email addresses, were you able to create copies so we can make a follow-up? Some are saying yes, great, that's marvelous. I just want to go over two other points quickly. Earlier, when you spoke of setting up for success, you said to establish a climate of security or a safe climate. Now we have many tools. We don't have to use all of them, but the climate of trust can be done in different ways with these tools, with a phone call, like in the good old days. But what we've come to realize with the research and the different interveners that are working, for example, in Europe on co-education, what's important is not to over dramatize or under dramatize the situation. So always to keep that climate is important, even in your communication. And always remember what your intention is. Your main focus is the well-being of the child. That is the point in common that you have with the parents. So the communications don't have to happen every week. It could be over a few months for one subject and maybe every week for other types of communications. But we will be there to support you. But it does pay off to ask yourself, what are the concerns? Why do we wish to communicate with the parents so that we can keep this safe environment throughout our communications and really get the information that we really need rather than just having some data that is unnecessary. Okay, so now for the end of this meeting, we really see this as a dynamic that we want to develop. This dynamic process puts us at the center and at the heart of this relationship as human beings in our particular positions, our specific positions. And we are different human beings that are working together, and we're working on opening doors to communicate both ways. It validates the actions of the different stakeholders, and it also enables the acceptance that we are in continuum and continuous evolution. We are at the heart of all of this. We are human beings, so we know that at some periods it's going to go really well, and other periods it might not go as well. So we must expect all of these ups and downs, and we must learn how to communicate and discuss in a way that is not over dramatizing the situation. So we invite you to become pros of co-education, but for that to happen, it does imply that there is a change in our position, our point of view, and also in our culture, so that the doors may open wide open for the exchanges to happen. So now we want to learn from you. What do you want to do now? What types of actions do you want to implement as we move forward? We certainly would like to open our doors to you. We are there to help you. We invite you to reach out to get some tools and use the tools that we have on écolebranchée.com/famille, so that you may implement the coeducation in your environment, in your school. It could be done with tailored accompaniment with your schools, with the parents, with your team, with the daycare services, for example. So there are many, many moments that could be good moments to open up this channel. Well, right now, there's a really good moment now. So there will be the parent-teacher meeting. We're looking to experiment that pretty soon. So I think it is a good moment, a good way to start. And we must ask ourselves, there might be some different contexts. There might be other contexts than the 10 months of the school year. Sometimes we, for example, may be welcoming many new teachers. And when the new teachers have a stage, they are assessed on many skills. And one of those skills is the family and school life link. Also, there might be a launch of new digital tools, maybe a change in the pedagogical practices that you want to put forth. You want everything to run smoothly. So you may want to have the opinion of the parents or have them involved. It could be also because you are teaching with children that have learning disabilities or difficulties, or you're maybe in a unfavored or impoverished environment. And so what can you do according to different contexts? You can call upon us for we have different conferences. We have conferences that can be addressed to your schools and your parents. And we have different ways and modes of helping and coaching and supporting to make sure that we ensure that it is implemented in time. It's not something that's going to happen on a specific date at a specific time. It's an ongoing process. Also, we will be with the CSSMB on the 19th. We have a conference with them and another conference in February for those who are at the CSSMB. And I don't know, we're giving out a badge? Well, actually is the digital day in education. So we will not be giving you a badge, but you will get the information with your email, the email that you've used to sign up. So we're still here for 5 minutes. So now we will close with some actions that you would like to put into place. Okay, so to have a diverse toolkit to try to communicate with parents with a specific subject, and also enable children or let the children express themselves. Currently, many children have received their scorecards. Did they expect it? Did they expect your comments, the comments that they got from you, or was it something that they did not expect? So try to look for the gaps between what you perceive and what the other party perceives, and learn to use words to be able to have the experience that is as close as possible to your visions, to your different visions. So Judith, go ahead. That's all I have to say. I really like that someone says that they will be talking about this in their university classes. And I think indeed, if we can start this from the get-go, not only talk about it, but how to implement it. Because we have heard about this when we did our bachelor's degree. We know that the parent-teacher relationship is important, but to what point are we told, or are we do, are you instructed? And the same thing in your schools. For those of you who are godfathers or godmothers of new teachers, I think it's important. And I really see the word here, creativity. It's true. You need to be creative. How do you want to live and experience this co-education? It's a little bit like the same thing with the digital revolution. You can't start and go full speed from the get-go. So you need to really take the time to become comfortable, because sometimes it is intimidating to communicate on from both parties. The teacher and the parent can be a little intimidated sometimes. So we want to do things properly. We don't want to make any mistakes. So how can we go about making it more comfortable? So we still have about 2 or 3 minutes. If you have any other questions, it's your last chance for those questions.
C'est correct, on donne pas de notes.
Okay, someone had issues with the questionnaire. Is that the questionnaire that I've shared with you? Because don't worry if you didn't fill it out. We're not scoring you on that. But honestly, it's been a pleasure. We really hope that this has helped you develop a meaning of what coeducation could be for you. And thank you, Martin. And really, yes, we believe in it. We deeply believe that it's possible to learn to communicate efficiently so that we may act in a positive way on the well-being and the journey of our children. So it is a role of the parents and the teachers to communicate together. And that is part of what we are sharing. And what we share is something that is very precious, the most precious thing in our communities, and it's our children. So it's for them that we open our hearts and we open our doors, and we also focus on the strengths of our youth, and we tool ourselves with very efficient and concrete elements to make it so that they are able to improve themselves. On the website, there are articles which give examples of dialogues that we can have together. And by the way, constructive dialogue is at the center of many conferences, and one of those conferences will be happening in the school board, the Marguerite Bourgeois School Board. So it was a pleasure to see you again. Thank you so much for being here. You'll see that we have put a lot of effort in these capsules, in these segments. So it's very interesting for you to go and reach out for tools and tools kits for coeducation. And we'll also feed our website and our Facebook page with tricks and advice that we have got from Europe. And I would end this on the quote of Mr. Fréchette. Be the humans of the now. Open up your hearts and make our exchange with schools and students possible. Have a good weekend. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day.